Peace, power, and ascension, black family. Let me see here. I'm about to share this to groups now. So while I'm sharing that, I just want to say, making progress on the garden, and don't be distracted. I was one of the ones being distracted, especially caught up in these rituals that's being performed. And keep in mind, I told y'all that in one of my videos in the group Blackheart, that a lot of things was going to start happening in 2019 in preparation for 2020 because of what the 2020 represents regarding eyesight and perfect vision and things of that nature. So 2019 is preparation for 2020, or the distortion of the 2020 occultism, symbology. What's happening right now. Every other year, we always got the same thing. Peace, Carlotta Howard. Greetings to you too. We always got things going on, distractions going on, and shit like that. But right now, 2019, it's gonna be a lot of powerful distractions going on. Like I said in my other video, people already pretty much know where they stand or how they feel, or what they in allegiance with, what they in alignment with, what they plan on doing and things of that nature. And this is about right now we're going through with all this teaching and education, education is pretty much confessions, where everybody's pretty much proclaiming where they stand and how they stand, what energy complex they will embody, and what they intend to move forward with. While at the same time, 2019, we got this Florida water right now. 2019 is preparation. It's going to be a lot of public occult rituals and stuff like that going on. So in preparation for 2020, because pretty much what's going to happen is during 2020 is the path that you set your eye on is going to be the path, all that you will be able to see, all that you will be able to perceive will be from that dynamic. And you will not be able to, as open as your mind will be, as much as you have the ability to see in 2020 is the ritual that's going to take place with stasis, restriction of eyesight. Your perfect vision what you are aligned with will be what you will be able to clearly perceive, clearly see, and see thoroughly into it in that energy complex, and work from that energy complex as far as your perceptions have developed and things of that nature. So that's the ritual that's being prepared for 2020. And then I just looked at my box of tea here. I didn't realize that. Best enjoyed by April 2020. Ain't that some shit? But let me get my acorn right. Pretty much. So what I want to get into with this video is talking about, it's pretty much what I had already intended to talk about, as far as mental health in the black community, and I titled it the way that I titled it because I feel like we got to really question. It's not just a simple question of like mental health or where we at, especially with us becoming black people, ascending more into spirituality and ascending more into knowing thyself and getting deeper into knowing thyself and embracing thyself and being yourself and staying true to yourself, and all these concepts that deal with self-reflection, self-identity, being more aware of who you are, what do you want, what your purpose is, what your destiny is, things of that nature. So with that being said, dealing with the world that we live in, the life that we live in, you got to really look at what is mental health itself. And I mean, what is the gauge, what is the standard that we base mental health on, or the quality of our mind, or the quality. What is mental health? What is mental and what is health? What is the gauge of health? What is the standard of health? So you got to ask. So we have to ask ourselves these questions, especially when we're talking about what is the state of black mental health, and what is the mental health? I mean, what does mental health mean to the black community and shit like that? And everybody's being real psychological and very intellectual right now. We have to question, engage ourselves on, especially when in regards to what our destiny is and what our purpose is and who are we and what do we want for ourselves. So the first question we got to really ask ourselves, well, the first question that I ask myself when I think about that is, what is mental itself? Because we know we have a brain, we know we have a mind, we know we have a soul, we have spirits, we know we have, emotions, we know we have feelings and senses and stuff like that. So what is the paradigm of mental? What is mental? This is something that has been created really through science, through the culture. Of quadrivium and trivium, which deals with Caucasoid sciences and education, and their learning system is based on the quadrivium and the trivium, which apparently I believe the quadrivium is what we're supposed to be learning from in our grade school years, and then when you get into college courses and stuff like that, you begin to explore the trivium and of civilization, as they call it. So we got to ask yourself, what is mental health? Now, when I look at what people would consider mental health, and what most people, first of all, the realm of mentalism itself is the unification. It's a territory that has been created between the brain and the mind, where at any given time, there's a neutrality between the brain and the mind, or there's an imbalance of the brain and the mind, unification. Like I tell people in the other videos, you don't think with your brain, you think with your mind. And your mind transmits to your brain. So people say, she was like, I'm thinking, but you're not really thinking. You are thinking. Your mind is beyond just this physical vessel. Like just as your soul is beyond, your soul is not trapped inside of this body. Your soul is anchored by this body. Your soul can extend to the cosmos. It's as deep as to. Your soul is as deep as you can perceive your soul to be, because your soul is your oneness with all. So as much as you can perceive your connection to all and the reality of your existence, as part of the wave and the frequency and the ethers and the cosmos and astrology and nature itself, as much as you can connect to all of these horizontal and vertical realities and dimensions, that's as far as your soul extends. Because that is your oneness. You perceive yourself as being one with these things, or as being connected and in tune with these things. So as deeply as you can perceive yourself to be connected to the all or the nothingness, that's as far as your soul can reach. And that could be beyond, what you as deep as possible, or as extended as possible, but it's beyond your physical vessel. And it's the same perspective as your mind, because your mind is what pretty much what your soul utilizes to journey. It's your mind, your soul, your mind is your vehicle. It can be unlimited. Yes, exactly. It can be unlimited in the sense of to the point where like you get into the state of nirvana, where like Buddha and all them was into with the meditation, where they pretty much seek to transcend, like they said, the seventh son of Adam and Jesus and Elijah from the Bible and things of this nature. They pretty much meditate themselves out of this dimension. And that's what the Buddhists and shit seek to accomplish, is becoming so in tune with the nature and with the all, and how your alchemy, your biochemical alchemy and everything has a correspondence with the alchemy outside of your physical vessel, that you can tune in and connect with that shit, and to the point where you become integrated back into, you give your energy back to the cycles of nature, from your physical vessel, while you yourself, your I am, transitions on. And that's how you reach a state of nirvana, and which is complete amalgamation of your physical vessel, while being conscious of the process. But what magic and alchemy teaches us is how to do that, and then still anchor yourself back to this. So this is why you have a physical vessel and a genealogy, in a genetics material and things, your own combination of how your alchemical elixir has been molded together into this vessel, so that this vessel is your anchor whenever you go on these astrological experiences or out-of-body experiences or supernatural experiences and things of that nature, or go into the depths of your own darkness and experience your own darkness from within, the depths within that reach all the way through the all into the nothingness, and things of that nature. So when you talk about mental health and what mentalism is itself, it's the mind having a neutrality and having a balance and almost a reciprocal relationship with your brain, because your brain rules over your biochemical processes and dictates how your biochemistry is going to respond and react, and how it perceives and absorbs and knows and sees. Because ultimately, all of your senses are one sense, which is the sense of vibrations. All your touching, your tasting, your seeing, your feeling, your hearing, your smelling. These are all one senses, and and the sense of intuition and instinct. These are all one sense, which is the sense of vibration, the sense of tones, the sense of frequencies and energy. This is what it's always has been about. So what happens is that your brain ruling over your biochemistry, your physical biochemistry, allows you to be able to, and this is the main battles that you have when it says face yourself. It's actually a battle between your mind and your brain, because your brain gets so used to acculturation, the processes that you have experienced. It's a signal sent from the mind. Yes, the signal comes from your mind to your brain based on what your intentions are, what your will is, what your desires are, and things of that nature, what your spirit seek to experience with your different manifestations. So when what happens with your brain pretty much reads is where is the what they call it, is like the transmitter. That's why the pineal gland is the central fugal point of your body, that transmits the information from mind to brain and brain to body, and body back to, and body to nature, and nature to back to brain, and all that kind of that whole nature back to body, and body to brain, and brain to mind, and mind to spirits, and spirits to soul. And that's your cycle. That's your cycle of knowing and being. So what happens with your brain is that, and what your genetic material is, this is how you can tap into your ancestral knowledge and stuff like that, is through this land between brain and mind that has been perceived as or quantified or qualified or cut off as, this is when we want to deal with mental health and all that stuff, this is what we seek to master. This is what we seek to stand on, the land that we seek to communicate with, or is the territory between the brain and the mind, so that we can intercept the signals being transmitted between the brain and the mind, and get this person to alter the way that they think, or the way that they feel, or the way that they perceive the signals that's being transmitted from brain to mind, or from mind to brain. And that territory is called mental. So when we talk about what is mental health, the standard of what is the standard of health now, then you get into standard of health would be based on the culture that you are in. And the culture, of course, that we subjected to would be a northern culture, which they call Western civilization. But it's not really Western civilization. It's really northern civilization, because we're under the dictates of the royal families of Europe and the Roman Catholic Church. So and not only that, on the occult side, we're under the patriarchal supremacists, Masonic, Freemasonry, Masonic, whatever you want to call it, Scottish Rite, York Rite, all that type shit. Patriarchal brotherhoods, which is 63 frequency brotherhoods. And this is all what this land that we call America is being subjected to. And this is the culture that we live in, is based on the Roman Catholic culture and corporatism, or what they would call economy. And economy is pretty much the like I said in my video before, numericizing of ecology being nature. your ecosystem has been numericized and quantified and given a numerical value based on quantity and availability and accessibility and things of that nature, supply and demand and all this type of shit. So this is why we say we live in an economic culture and stuff like that, or all this type of shit. We live in a capitalistic culture, and it's all types. And I mean, all types of different sayings that all amount to the same exact thing. So this is the culture that we had to base mental health on, and mental health and the concept of what health is has to serve the dominant culture. In order for that dominant culture to continue to be dominant, you have to be so everything about legalism and about what you would call the judicial system or jurisprudence and jurisdiction and the laws of the land. They're not really laws; they're just legalese and shit like that. Has to be subjected to serve the balance of powers or the culture and the social engineering and the construct of society that you exist in. So we talk about black mental health, or what would be considered. We would actually be considered outside of sanity, but what they call insane. What they call insane is actually when they say that you're classified as crazy or SSI check worthy. Is considered to be insane, but yet the concept, the words insane mean you are within the realm of sanity. And this is when you get into mental health, the concept of insanity deals with you are so aware of the way that the real world operates and how people really engage each other and what real relationships are and how energy truly moves. And above and beyond the contracts that we believe we have emotionally or physically or psychologically or sexually or, relationship contracts and shit like that, regardless of those contracts that we have and what we say that what's on paper and legalese and legalisms and, different institutions of power of the culture and society that we live in. A person that is insane is somebody who understands the reality of things and begins to live based on the reality of things without fronting, without playing the game of social acceptance, without abiding by the traps of conformity. They be who they truly are based on the reflections that they receive from how society, how the world really is, and how people really truly are. Regardless of what's on paper. And so these people that are really called insane are people who are so much in tune with the frequencies and the vibes that really truly exist in the world, and they begin to live as a reciprocal of that energy, and as a reciprocal of that energy, they are classified as insane. And but that really means that they are within the scope of sanity based on how things really are, like niggas, like if it's like, and this is what's wrong with black people here in this land. We are outside of sanity. We are not sane at all, because being with it, and we need to become more insane, meaning we need to step into sanity. Because sanity would say that, and I see this problem on social media, video clips that I be seeing, where you got cops and different whatever representing the legal system, beating the shit out of niggas and fucking niggas up, punching niggas. Like I just seen the one yesterday where they jumped on this dude that was picking up a cell phone for somebody else that was getting beat up or harassed by the police. He dropped his cell phone. The dude went to go pick the cell phone up. Police ran down on him, was grabbing his head. And I mean, they like slammed him on the ground, grabbed his head, banged his head on the ground twice, and all types of shit. But sanity would say everybody around that's seeing this shit right now, that identifies with this person that's being assaulted or this person that's being attacked, that knew this person or may have been friends with this person or have been out there for the same reasons that this person was out there, should have attacked the police and they shouldn't have made it out of there alive. That would be sanity. That would be acting within sanity, because that would be the same thing to do based on the reality that we live in and exist in. Being outside of sanity or not being sane would be you sitting there recording it and then 20 or 30 other people standing around watching it while the cop is beating the shit out of this nigga in the middle of the street and slamming his head around, throwing him around. And it's only 2 cops out there and it's 30 of y'all out there, but everybody's just oohing and ahhing and recording the shit and saying how fucked up it is. That means nobody out there was sane. Nobody up there was within sanity. Nobody up there is insane enough to be true and living to the reality that we exist in. Because if you were truly sane or within the scope of sanity, those cops wouldn't have made it out of there alive. This is why we have to question who is ruling the mentals of our people, who is in the territory of mentalism and the concept of mental health. How healthy are we mentally, not just as people, but as individuals alone? Like, no, not one person would defend these people that are attacked by the police, have defended. Or like you got my sister's people, this white boy pretty much did a hit and run on, he was drugged up, he come from a rich family, he hit my sister's cousin's daughter while she was checking the mailbox. She was like 9 years old, 7 years old or something. She was checking the mailbox, out in the country, riding on the back road. He lived right down the street from her. He hit her, kept going, went home, pulled up, told his family so they could hurry up and defend, because they was ex-police officers. And when the police finally came, he told them that he thought he hit a dog. That's why he kept going. He didn't think it was a problem. And when they found out they did hit him, everybody was defending him. The society was pretty much the society was developed. The community was divided and didn't want to, pretty much where it boiled down to, corporate people and Caucasoids and police and, state employees was defending the guy that hit her in a hit and run, drugged up hit and run, going above the speed limit. And then niggas from the streets and the projects in the hood was on the side of my sister's family. So what happened was, he goes to court and all that type shit, and they realize that nigga was doing like above the speed limit, like crazy, like 20, 30 miles above the speed limit. He was drugged up on every kind of drug you can think of. He didn't have a license or some shit like that. Like, it was all types of like shit that was wrong with him that he should have, that based on social engineering, should have been factors that weighed against him. So they made him, so because he was, so to protect him from being killed, because there was some real niggas that was ready to do something to him, they locked him up and decided that by him being in prison, he would be protected while they do the kangaroo court shit. So nigga been locked up probably about a year now, going through this shit. Then he got his court date comes, they give him 18 months with time served. So nigga pretty much got like 6, 8 months, 9 months left to do, and then he gets out for pretty much killing somebody. Now, man, his family been getting all kind. His horses. His family's horses then got killed off and poisoned and all types of shit. Like they them kind of people out in the country got mad land, horses, ranch type shit and all that. Now, the concept now it would be sane. It was sane for him to only receive the time that he received, even though it seems fucked up to us. Like that, like, damn, this nigga only got 18 months. He just killed the little black girl in a hit and run. He only got 18 months in prison, and he had all these factors that's supposed to be weighing against him that would weigh against us for us to be justified in receiving more prison time and punishments. And but it is sane for him to only receive the time that he received because of the social engineering and the construct of society that we live in. He should be protected by his people. He should be given the minimal amount of punishment for what he did, even though it seems fucked up to us. But they are acting with insanity. We would say, we would classify it, they are insane. Like black people will say, white people are insane. White people are crazy. Yes, they are insane. They're acting within the sanity of the social construct and the culture that we live in the world, the way that the world is, and how the world is sustained to be dominant above the earth, on this earth plane. Exactly. Just the judicial system does protect its own, but we are outside of sanity. Our mental health is imbalanced because we would not protect our own that thoroughly. We would not defend our own that thoroughly. We would not be standing up. We have an imbalanced mental health structure. We are not we need to become more insane. We are acting outside of sanity. Because and the reason why you can tell that we are acting outside of sanity is because we depend on the system to bring us justice, or to bring us reciprocity, or to bring, because we believe that karma is good and karma is the way things should be, when we clearly see that karmic debt is not being meshed out or handed out with balance. You're talking about people that have karmic debt. Karma is a creation. Just like the calendar system is a karmic cycle that has been created. The Gregorian calendar system that we utilize and have been subjected by and imprisoned by and held captive by with this 12 zodiac system is a prison. It's a karmic cycle that we have been imprisoned in. And karmic cycles are created all the time. Calendars get created all the time. Yes, a creation. Karma itself was created by somebody that is not even subjected to the rules of that karma that they created. That's why we speak of a concept of justice, and the concept of justice that we have is the people who deal the justice, or who supposed to be the judges or the prosecutors or the lawyers of those that are part of the bar association, or that swear the Hippocratic oath, or whatever it may be, state employees or cops or people that belong to these fraternal orders and sororities and shit like that. They are not subjected to the same, especially if they affiliated, through blood with somebody that is in good standing with these organizations or these institutions of power. So we cannot say so when we say they are crazy or they are insane for what we perceive as to be injustices done against us, they are acting with perfect mental health, because they are acting with insanity. Because sanity means that you are doing what brings you sane. Sanity is related to the word Zen, which is related to the word Zion. What brings you peace? What brings you joy? What brings you happiness? What makes you, meaning you and all of your reflections, or your closest reflections, or as deep as your familiar spirits. What brings y'all peace and love and contemptibility and joy and happiness and safety and security and success and survival. They're doing with all of these attacks against us, even though these are distractions, when they be fucking black people up and doing all this other shit that's going on, all of this shit is really a distraction. Brotherhood shit, patriarchal wars, seraphic wars, to put the woman on the back burner because she needs her warriors to stand in front of her. All of this shit is a distraction. But at the same time, it's a fear attack. It's to instill fear in us, because we have these. There are spiritual entities that feed off of our fear. Is revenge a good thing? Revenge is not one of our concepts. We don't have revenge. Is not real. Revenge is something that the Caucasians always created. That's something that's in their culture. We don't have revenge. We have reciprocity. We got to stand on our higher principles. So it's not revenge that we seek. We seek reciprocity. We seek balance. We don't seek revenge. We shouldn't seek revenge. Revenge implies some form of, hate or malice, or, some form of, some form of energy in your light code that could be self-destructive. So it's not revenge that you should ever seek. It's never, you shouldn't have a vendetta against anyone, but you should seek reciprocity. You know what I mean? I mean, you take a life. You take one of our people's lives, then we should take one of your lives. You come to our hood and attack our people and think that you grade exact your rules and regulations over our lives in an area that where our people are dominant. Then we should go do the same shit. It shouldn't be like where they do something like this. And this is something I learned when I was in prison. You know, because I actually got more jail time. Like I ended up having to do like 2.5 years. Yeah, and because I got assault on a correction officer, and I was only in there for 90 days for violation of probation, and because I was like, yo, once I'm free, I'm free. And niggas like, I mean, y'all better get y'all time out of me while I'm here. So they locked me up, and was gonna keep me in prison for the time that they felt I should be in there. And you know, I got attacked by one of the correction officers in there. You know, he sprayed me with bear mace, then tried to jump on my ass and shit. I turned around and motherfuckers started punching on him and trying to choke him out and shit. And I got assault on a correction officer. But that was the same thing for me. I was acting with insanity. Because by nature, by intuition and instincts, you should be, I mean, they say the first the first instincts of any being is self-preservation. And once you are secure and succeed in your self-preservation or have reached a comfortable state of self-preservation, then you will seek self multiplication, which is procreation or multiplicity. You'll seek to now grow and expand and become successful in preserving yourself in every dimension of yourself that you can express yourself. So you know what I mean? So I acted with insanity, but that was considered to be insane. And they say that, well, when you get attacked by a cop or a state employee or something like that, you're supposed to stand there and get your ass whooped. And if they done anything wrong by whooping your ass, then you go ahead about it through the legal process and to seek justice. But you yourself cannot exact justice or cannot seek reciprocity for any harm brought against you or any crime committed against you. That's silly. That's stupid. But in their system, because that works for their familiar spirits and their ideologies, their culture that they have, it makes sense to them. They are acting with insanity, even though to us we would say they're insane. Yes, they are in their sanity. We need to be inside of our sanity. What is our sanity? Why is it that somebody can come to your hood, the police can knock on your door, just walk in because they show you a piece of paper saying that another cracker told them they can come in your crib? Why is that allowed? Why is the community? How is it possible that your community will stand around and watch that? And nobody will defend you. Everybody will just be glad that it ain't them. How is it that I mean, you can grow up in a community around people your whole life, and then those people come, and I mean something happens. An officer wants to come to that neighborhood, and they chasing niggas around the neighborhood they grew up in, around people they grew up with. And the police and you don't know these officers, you don't know these police, you don't know their culture, their background. They're about to arrest and abduct someone that you grew up with, a familiar spirit, another soul that you know, somebody whose family you know. But nobody says anything or does anything. Nobody says, yo, this nigga can come in my crib or stand on my porch or stand on my steps, and the whole community should be coming out to support one person, no matter how fucked up it is. And when the police or anybody feels like there's something wrong, or that person has done something wrong, you bring it to the community. You bring it to us. You let us deal with our people, our families. Because we have to live among each other. We will discover whether something has been going wrong or this person has done something wrong, and we will investigate. And if we feel like there was something wrong, we will punish this person. That would be acting with insane, because this is what they do. Especially if they belong to these fraternities and sororities. That's like you found out about the Zodiac Killer. If anybody knew about the Zodiac Killer, they said he never found the Zodiac Killer. But you really study occult knowledge and occult fraternities and sororities, and you get into that, and you know people because you got to be connected to them somehow, know somebody or something in order to get real information and real interpretations. You'll find out that they really have found the Zodiac Killer. But immediately before he was processed, the fraternities had took over and abducted and pretty much told him that we're gonna have a Masonic. He's gonna go through the Masonic jurisdiction and the occult jurisdiction. It's not gonna be public. So as far as the public knew, they never found the Zodiac killer. But in actuality, they did find him, and he just went to through the Masonic trial process, and everything was dealt within the fraternity. And they were able to do this because they were so thorough, so deep into interwoven into society, to the community, the coroner, the police force, the special investigators forces, task force, commissioners, politicians, all. I mean, y'all already know the story. The fraternities is so much with everybody that they were able to take control of the situation immediately when anybody came across them, and they protected them from being subjected to the process that we are all subjected to, because that process would not benefit their culture. Their process would not benefit their familiar spirits. This being that was doing all this what they call the serial killing. It would. I mean, he represented something, and what he represented could not be persecuted according to our views. What he represented could not be touched by the same process or the same system that we are subjected to. We should be moving the same way, but we gotta check our mental health though. We can be moving. It's very easy for us to move the same way. No contracts, no businesses, none of that shit matters. What matters is how are you received by the community. This is what always has mattered. How does the community handle things? How do the people, the actual living people, act and think and feel about everything? This is what matters. And if we continue to allow people to just dictate to us what mental health is, and then say that this is the standard. Like, you got niggas walking around talking about they got ADHD now and ADD now. I remember when they first started, that shit first started coming to the hood, and niggas first started talking about that they got diagnosed with ADD and ADHD, or schizophrenia, or paranoid delusions, or bipolar disorder, or like all this shit is stuff that they can play with within the scope of mental health, because mental health is something that they created. Was created by the legal system, by legalese, the scientific branch of legalism. Mental health. This is why they can put you into a mental asylum. And a mental asylum is strictly for social engineering. That's what a mental asylum has always been. That's what the mental asylums eventually became prisons. Prisons do the same exact thing that mental asylums do. Social engineering, except for in mental asylums, they die. Yeah, my bad. I got a phone call. I was actually my supervisor. I gotta talk to that nigga later. But yeah, this is where it all comes from. And we pretty much got it. And you gotta understand your mental health to the scope. You got to really, and each individual has to challenge their own mental health and figure out what their mental health is and how to deal with their, their families there. Because you got stuff within your genealogy. Your mental health includes your genetic mental health. What has been passed on through your mind and your biochemistry through genetics, because all of your blood holds your genealogy, and that deals with your biochemical nature, your alchemy, that's ruled by your brain. So that's one scope of your mental health got to do with your family, your genealogy. This is why they say trauma can be passed on through generations. You can actually pass trauma on to your children that they have never experienced. They say women can feed their child trauma through the breast milk. The trauma of slavery, the trauma of bondage, the trauma of lies, the miseducation. You can feed the child that through breast milk. The man can ejaculate trauma. The man can ejaculate anger. A man can ejaculate hate and malice and deception through his semen. He can ejaculate that, and the woman can become pregnant by that, or immature semen. And that would be how the fetus or how the egg is fertilized and developed. That would be the knowledge that is transmitted that she receives to develop that egg. And now you have a child that has now the genetic material of that father, and he has all the fuck shit that comes along with the father or the mother. So all this matters. All this is what you have to understand about mental health. Mental health is not just you right now. Mental health deals with correcting, like they say, generational curses. You know what I mean? Aligning your future generations that comes out of you with the proper reciprocal mental health, a balanced mental health. So you have to step yourself, but for that you have to find out what is your insanity. That's why I tell people all the time, step into your dark side. You got to know your dark side. Don't be scared to face your own demons and your own hells, and your own traumas and your own, things that you've experienced since childhood or since birth, or that you perceived while you was in your mother's matrix. You know what I mean? The arguments that she was getting into while she was pregnant with you. You know what I mean? Whoever she was arguing with, whoever she was fucking, all of that shit. You got all that shit. All of that matters. You got to really talk and find out about what your mother was going through while you was in her stomach, while she was holding you in her matrix. But most people only go as far as find out like what kind of life did my father live? What kind of life did my mother live? But you gotta find out what kind of life was you living before you was born. What was your experiential reality of the world before you experienced the world? While you were still in the matrix, your mother's matrix. All this deals with mental health and where we at now. And thankfully for me, I was breastfed. I was breastfed by a passive mother, but my father was aggressive. So now, so a lot of shit that I was dealing with when I was growing up, they would always say I was passive aggressive. But I left that passive aggressive shit alone now. Now I'm completely, aggressive as I choose to be and passive when I choose to be. I got a balance within myself. You have to know yourself and find yourself this thoroughly, this deep. Know your mental health. What is your standard of mental health? Yes, our standard of mental health cannot be what we see in these textbooks in these colleges and what we're taught in these universities and what people get degrees on in order to be considered a mental health practitioner. That is not our culture. That is not our social construct, and that is a form of social engineering. That is a form of MK Ultra mind control. That is a form of monarch programming. All of that comes into play. Your mental health, the cartoons we watch, the TV shows that we watch, the movies that we watch, the music that we listen to. Y'all already know all that type of shit. But what about the type of people that we fuck? And what about the type of things that we smell? And at one point in time, they had royal families and shit that, where they had the virgins wasn't allowed to be around anything that didn't smell good, or they was never given anything that didn't taste good or wasn't rich in flavors. And like this was like considered like a privilege of royalty and shit, royal families. They couldn't even be around shit or piss or homeless people or clothing that came from somebody that was considered of a lesser stature in society. I told somebody in the video, cops are not cops no more. Cops are police. Cops meant community-oriented public servants. That's what cops were. They're not cops anymore. They are a police force. They're a polar ice forcing something. So all this type of shit, you got to understand your mental health, what mental health is. What is a judge? Have you accepted judgment? Do you accept judgment? Do you accept the concept of heaven and hell? Do you accept the concept of interdimensionalism? Do you accept flat earth or globe world or flat, or flat earth or globe earth or whatever? Like, what is your mental, because all of this determines your mental health. Or do you accept, how much of yourself do you know and can you perceive? This is pretty much like what I wanted to get into. Anybody have any questions, you can ask me. But you really got to question mental health. You really got to question like what is the between mind and brain, because the more that you begin to try to master your mind and master your elevation and activating yourself, you'll start to realize that your brain and your mind reach a certain point in which they are no longer compatible with each other. There's a mental health breakdown. They're no longer in unity or reciprocating each other or working together, because your brain deals with your animal nature, your animality, your beastly nature, your animal self, your animated character, your avatar. And your mind is dealing with this astral personality and this, you know what I mean, multi-dimensional spirits and your soul and your mind and all this type of stuff. So when you get into when you really get into trying to master your mind, you got to get it past the territory of brain power, because a lot of people have been so trapped in autopilot based on their bestial instincts that they become their brain becomes dominating over their mind, and you don't even realize it. You believe that you're thinking, but you're not thinking. It is your brain sending chemical transmissions telling your mind you are subjected to us, and if you do not abide by what we ruled out, we will alter the chemistry so much that you will perceive it as we are going crazy and we are losing it, and we are becoming more depressed and we are becoming more miserable. This can happen to your mind based on your brain taking over your mind and ruling the territory of mind. This is when they say you only follow after your passions, your animal lust and nature and all this type of stuff. It is your mind, your brain ruling over your mind. So we started getting into elevation and spiritual activation and things of this nature. You are trying to now step into a dimension in which your mind rules over your brain. This is when they talk about self-mastery. Self-mastery, you're talking about your mind mastering your brain. You being in control of your alchemical processes, your alchemical elixir. And then when you reach into a territory where your mind is involved in the scope of spirits and spirituality, and your mind has to confront all your spirits. And you got to confront all your spirits that are associated in the territory of mental health ruling over your body, because every spirit that you have is not necessarily a spirit that is in your benefit or in your favor. It may not necessarily be conducive to what you desire, what your destiny is, and what your purpose is. You could be activating some spirits that somebody else could have activated some spirits while you were a child. And so you got to question all this when you're dealing with focusing on and thinking about your own mental health. Where your mental health really is, and how you really feel, and then once you step into your mind has to confront all your spirits. You got to. This is what they talk about, the battle of self. You got to face yourself and battle yourself, and all that type of shit. You have to confront yourself. Your mind, it's like you got so many battlefields within yourself before you can even understand or comprehend the battlefield that is without the self. That the battlefield that is in your horizontal experience. You got to deal with the vertical battlefields that come from you and your connection with your soul and your spirits and your mind and your brain and your mentalism and your alchemy, your biochemical nature, your genealogy and genetics and biogenetic material and all that type of shit. You got to battlefields on all these fronts, and everybody battles with everybody to know their place within thyself. And then you got the purpose of rituals and ceremonies is to develop a pattern so that you can continue to enforce and cultivate each aspect of yourself in its proper place and proper perspective. This is the purpose of rituals and ceremonies or habits. Because you have to put all of your I am in its proper perspective, all the way from your alchemical, beastly animality, all the way to your soul, or your oneness, your allness, and your nothingness. All this shit matters when you talk about mental health and how you conceptualize your mental health. You have to find out what is your standard. What is your standard of balance? What is your standard of health? What is your weight, measure, and balance for what mental health is defined as for you? And then you have to find out who has familiar spirits, who is in agreement with this. Because these are the beings that, when you understand this, these are the beings that you will step into these other dimensions. You will meet in these other dimensions of familiar spirits. These familiar spirits are here and now. You can create some shit here that and feed it energy now while you still exist in this form, and then y'all can go step into these other dimensions with each other, or for each other, or on behalf of each other, or communicate with. I mean, it's a whole. This is where religions come into play. While religions have been created, and worshiping this and praying to that, and offerings for this, and spirituality, give offerings and set up this and set up this, these correspondences with these beings and all that type of stuff. That's a form of mental health practice. Setting up altars, doing rituals, doing magic, doing ceremonies, tuning into your majestic imagination, seeking power within the dream world, trying to activate your free will and live the life that you choose to live. All of this is part of mental health. Knowing that how much of your free will has been subjected to the free will of others. How much of your free will have you been giving up without even knowing it? And when you do it by testing and understanding and knowing and discovering yourself at all levels, so that you can comprehend what is your mental health and what is your standard of mental health. And it is through the concept of mentalism and health that you will be able to achieve your freedoms and your sovereignty, and your liberation. The liberation of your mind, the liberation of your spirits, from being held captive, the liberation of your soul. That's all I really wanted to bring to y'all, and I just wanted to put that thought out there, dealing with the mental health and liberating yourself and from the standards that do not serve you, and stepping with insanity and social engineering and the being socially acceptable and all that. You got to step out of all of that to liberate your mental health. To liberate yourself from the mental health standards that do not serve you. So we got to really understand as a collective and as individuals what it means to us to be liberated, to have a balanced mental health, for every aspect of ourselves to be in reciprocity with each other, to have balance. And that's what I wanted to say. Anybody got any questions? I'll stick around on here for a couple seconds. Anybody got anything you want to say, add to this, anything you want me to talk about? If not, I'm ready to sign off and find something to do. Probably watch TV. Make sure y'all share and watch and rewatch. And I have other videos, like I said, in the group Black Heart. If y'all want to see any of my prior videos that I've done, because I've really said a lot of things in those videos. So join the group Black Heart. I think this group that I have, First Eye Open. I shared most of those videos that haven't been reported in the Black Heart group. I've shared them in the First Eye Open group. So you can go to utilize either group, go to the Black Heart group or First Eye Open, and see the videos that I have, and talking about a broad scope of different topics and subjects. Like, no video is talking about the same exact thing. I touch on many subjects, and I can still touch on other subjects. If anybody desires, just let me know, comment or inbox, whatever. If there's something that you would like me to speak on or go in on. I'm not really a kind of movie person, get into movies and music, because a nigga can make videos about that type shit forever and really never get nowhere with it, or nobody really gets anywhere with it. So I try to deal with the principles and, the centrifugal points of all this information, shit that's necessary to experience and examine. And nobody got anything to say, then I'm gonna leave it at that. I appreciate y'all for watching. Much love, much respect, and keep your first eye open. Stay above the fuck shit, and be about this work. The only way to know anything is to be a thing. If you have not been a thing or do not be that thing, you cannot know a thing. And I believe that's Rene Descartes that said that. Knowing is being. So keep your first eye open. Liberate your free will. And understand we're in a dimension of souls, solar plexus, soulism, solar systems, and oneness, Be ye of one mind. And that's all I want to say. Appreciate y'all.